This is the Timbo Slice Podcast featuring Jordan, Episode 4.
Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since we've done this, so sorry to keep all you listeners waiting. Also, I still haven't, at the time of this podcast, posted Episode 3, so you've been waiting a really long time, but I'll get to that as soon as I can, and maybe you'll get 2 episodes posted in one day. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, we interviewed Daniel Hoffman last time, and you need a little bit of recovery after you do that.
Maybe. Yeah, the caliber of our last guest just took it out of us, I guess, maybe. So yeah, here we are, and the first thing that we wanted to talk about was Jordan's new YouTube channel. How new is it, would you say, though?
It's not super new. When did I put the first video on there? It couldn't have been later than springtime. So we're July now. Seems like I'm putting out a video about every month. Up to 5 subs now. And averaging like 30 views per video. So I'm just about ready to monetize this puppy and quit my full-time job.
Right on. So why don't you tell the listeners what your channel is all about?
My channel is all about, I guess, whatever I feel like it should be about at the time. So when I started it, I didn't have this concept of a channel, or a theme that all the videos would be about. The sister missionaries came to visit us and challenged us to share the Book of Mormon with someone. And I thought, how am I going to do that? And I decided I'd make a YouTube video. So I did. I made one about the Book of Mormon and published that. And then I started thinking about other things, spiritual messages that I wanted to give because I'm a talker on YouTube. So the next 2 videos were about that. And then I was thinking just about learning from other people's experiences. I've been listening to the Soft Skills podcast by Jameson Dance and Dave Smith. And the main thing I get from their podcast, they give advice, right? So the idea is they're both engineers, but they don't talk about engineer stuff. They give you soft skills kind of advice. And I don't really have many opportunities to apply the advice that they give. I mean, I'm sure it's great for the question askers. I've just not had their same problems. But the thing that I have observed just from listening is how common certain experiences are. So I wanted to talk about, so I was a little bit surprised by some things that were normal or common. So I decided that I'd make a few videos about that, just about things that were surprisingly common. So the 4th video I made was about, just interpersonal work and management dynamics, the struggles that pretty much everybody has working with a group of people in an office. And then after that, I did one about misunderstandings and judgments and how common that kind of stuff is too. And, more than just misunderstandings, right? But deciding that someone is fatally flawed in some way, like you need to get rid of them or you need to rebuke them severely for some failing of theirs when really you've just misjudged them. If you had more context, or even just asked them, right? Like, why did you do that? And if you let them tell you, then you would feel much worse that this person was in the same world as you. So that is the channel. That's what the first 3 and the last 2 videos were about. There's not a coherent theme. Maybe I should have 2 channels. I don't know. I mean, I make them because I like to create and I like to talk, which our 2, 3, maybe 4 listeners may have observed by listening to this podcast. And the very existence of the podcast itself, right?
Right.
It's kind of evidence of that.
I mean, I've watched your 2 latest videos, and they were really well done. So,
thank you.
Recommendation, folks who are listening, we'll put the link to Jordan's channel in the description.
Like and subscribe because I want to quit my job.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to quit my job. I have a good job, and I'd be fine never monetizing anything from YouTube.
Yeah.
Not that I would say no to any of that YouTube money.
Of course not, right? So go ahead.
But it's not a long-term goal.
Yeah. So you mentioned that a lot of the problems you hear about on the Soft Skills podcast are not those that you've encountered yourself. Can you talk a little bit about some of the problems that they do bring up? I'm curious.
Sure. What comes to mind? One of the recent ones, I think it was just this last week's show, someone wrote saying they have a lot of anxiety about their performance at work and just knowing where they stand with their manager. And their manager is giving them, I think, 2 one-on-ones a year, every 6 months now instead of yearly, just to help with that, And then I think monthly they have an informal thing so that this person can know where they're standing, but they still feel anxious, right? So that was one that they talked through. What was another one? One of them was, I have become a technical lead and I've got way too much on my plate right now. So how do I keep from burning out? How do I maintain relationships with people that used to be peers? Just several questions that swirled around that sudden being promoted to a tech lead and having lots of busyness. It's more than just the promotion. Like, there's already lots of busyness surrounding this person. I think there might have been 2 people that left, and that's how they became the tech lead. So they already knew that they were stretched too thin, right? And just wanting some advice on how do I make the best of a situation where I know I'm stretched too thin.
Sounds like something I could use personally.
Yeah. It's a good listen.
Yeah.
I mean, even if, so like for me, right, the advice, it seems like fine advice. I don't have the problems, right? So I don't need to apply, there's no need for me to apply it and then evaluate how good it was. But it's nice just to know, what other experiences, what shared experiences we all have, things that you wouldn't expect other people to be going through, but that they are because they're normal.
Yeah. How often do you have one-on-ones at your new job?
I don't know if I will ever have them.
Wow.
I'm in a contractor kind of position.
I guess that's true.
I'm not. So they call it contingent, but it's contractor. Anyway, it's strange with the church, the different tiers of employees. But I'm actually employed by, I don't know how they self-identify, but People Data Solutions is the name of the company, PDS. So I'm technically their employee, and I just do what their client, the church, says, but I have almost zero interaction with them. So the guy that brought me on board to fill this contractor position at the church, he takes me out to lunch once a month, which is fun. We're friends, right? So I do a good job, and I'm sure he's got some sort of income or reward for finding somebody like me. And that's all of my interaction with that company. And I think the way that my actual boss sees it is I am an employee of PDS, so he might give me, corrective feedback, but as far as like career guidance and you should grow this skill set, I don't think there's going to be any of that. So I might not have one-on-ones at all in my current position.
Interesting.
I don't know.
How often did you have them while you were at Exactware?
When they were required.
Yeah, it's like a year end.
Verisk Insurance Solutions says that you have to evaluate all your employees now. So that's when I was evaluated. And I always knew my standing with Dwayne, right? We had a good relationship. But I think a valuable thing that you can get out of one-on-ones as an employee is like what you could do to grow. Like if you wanted to go places in the future, or if you just generally wanted to be more valuable in your field, it seems like that could be a good use of those one-on-ones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, not just knowing where you stand, like that's important too, but probably the most important thing is developing people, like not even just necessarily in their current role, developing them as people, developing them for the next step in their career, or helping them enhance their strengths, overcome weaknesses, correct any problems, that sort of thing. And I feel like it's a very neglected thing, definitely at Exact where, and from what I hear talking to other people, it seems to be kind of neglected, all throughout corporate America probably.
Yeah, the story seems to be someone is good at their job, so they make them a manager, but
Yeah.
they were never thinking about that.
Yeah. And it comes with more money, so pretty much everybody would take it and not turn it down.
Yeah,
so,
it's a promotion, right? So of course
Yeah.
they'll take it.
And so they're doing this whole like mentoring program at Exact now. I don't know if you heard the rumblings of the beginnings of this whole.
I was there for the
Oh
orientation.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were there. So
We went down together.
yeah, so they've started to get into that more now, and I actually went to one of the meetings. I think it was last month, and signed up to be a mentee of some people. So I didn't sign up as a mentor because I'm already mentoring like Vincent and Sociata and Chris.
A natural leader. That's what he's saying here.
Greg Garrett. So I've already got like 4
Tim
people.
doesn't need a program. He's just going to take you under his wing.
So I don't really need to like put myself out there to sign up other like random people I don't know to help, because I already struggle to find time to do everything that I probably should be doing for those 4. And I figure, I need some kind of mentorship. If I'm going to help people, then I need to advance myself too, right?
Yeah.
Up my own game. So I went and I signed up. I actually signed up to be under 4 people. So I've got like 4 mentors and 4 mentees now. But anyway, one of them I went to lunch with, Dan Nelson. Dan
Who is
Nelson?
Dan Nelson?
He is the AVP of Professional Services here at Exactware.
All right.
So I kind of got to know him when we went on a business trip to New Hampshire. That was, when was that, May?
Yeah, you sent
Something
me a
like that.
picture sometime
Yeah.
around May. That's all I know about it.
And so he went there. He went too, and and so did Dwayne. So we all kind of hung out a lot and got to know each other better. And so I signed up to be his mentee, and we went to lunch Monday. And anyway, while we were there, I was asking him a bunch of leadership questions, and one really interesting thing he had to say was about one-on-ones and evaluations, because I was telling him how I really wish I had more of that. I wish somebody could look at me and have enough knowledge about me and insight into what I do that they can say, here's where you need to be going, and here's where you are today, and here's what the gap is. This is the gap that you need to close in order to get from A to B, from your current step to the next step. To get to the next level, here's what you need. But nobody really is involved enough to know that level of detail about me, right? Like,
Yeah.
the evaluations I get are very low resolution. It's like, I'm really busy myself, so I'm too busy to really know a lot about what you're doing, but you seem to be doing a great job. Keep it up. That's the standard. Like,
Yeah. People are
evaluation.
doing it because they have to. They don't see it as one of their main job
Right.
functions.
And so one thing that Dan said that really stood out, he said, as leaders, it's probably our most important role, but it's never the highest priority.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much always the lowest. I
Right.
mean, that I've observed. We talked about Dwayne earlier. He has 20 reports,
Yeah.
right? And he's responsible for releases, and he's supposed to provide technical leadership and architecture kind of know-how, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and with the importance of the greatest major product release, right?
Yeah.
Of course he's not focused on his people,
Of course not.
because he's responsible for this really high pressure, high stakes situation with this new product. So of course he has to put most of his energy into that.
Mm-hmm. And those 20 people encompass 3 disciplines too. So, like, who has that kind of time to adequately lead a team of 20 people that are doing at least 3 different types of work? That's
Only Superman.
it's just too much. Too many hats to wear, and so it becomes impossible to the point where even if you cared and you wanted to do it, you realize the futility of it all, and then why try, right? Like,
Yeah, you could easily get discouraged.
yeah. And that's basically what Dwayne said when they first put him in that role, he said, I'm not going to have time. Like, you guys are going to have to self-manage, basically. Self-manage, self-lead, because there's no way I'm going to have the bandwidth for it. So, I mean, he knew up front, like, there's no way. Too much. And that's too bad, because I agree with Dan Nelson. I think it is probably the most important, I mean, the leadership aspect of being a leader, right, is probably the most important. That's what the role is, so.
Yeah, well, and it seems like Exactor is being more conservative now about hiring people, right? That's why they're doing this contractor thing.
Well, the contractor thing isn't that common, and it's been around in XA for a while now, in Exact Analysis. Kevin Siemens had a QA contractor for a long time. And we had one in Desktop for a little while, but then they used a spot to move it to full-time and then never backfilled it, so. Yeah, I don't know how common it is these days, but typically it's been used as a way of getting an extra person or two without breaching the headcount limit that's put on us by corporate, because they'll say, oh, you can only have 40 people.
Yeah.
No matter what. You cannot have a 41st person, no matter what.
Yeah, so
even if you need it.
Given that we've arbitrarily set a number of seats on the bus, right? Like a basketball team can only be 12 people or whatever. I don't know anything about sports, so I'm probably embarrassing myself now, right? You can only have 5 on the court at a time.
Yeah.
Well, you better have 5 pretty darn good players on the court, right?
Right. Yeah. And not just that, but like...
Because you've already limited yourself. You said, this is it. These are the people. Nobody else can come in until we get rid of these people.
It's kind of like if there was a loophole that said, like, if you aren't wearing the uniform when you're not paid by the team, then you don't count against that 5-person limit. It's like, why wouldn't you then squeeze a 6th person onto the court if it gives you an advantage, right?
Yeah, of course you would.
That's basically the setup, They were saying you can only have 40 people and, 12 of those spots are allocated to QA, but we really need a 13th or whatever the position is. Then the only choice you have is to hire a contractor.
So
because
it seems like there is money and budget for it, right?
Right, because it costs more than hiring somebody full time. Like if you hire a full time person and offer them like $40,000, usually the rule of thumb around here is add like 30% to cover the total cost of the company, which includes all the benefits and insurance and all that stuff, right? But then you hire somebody as a contractor and you pay them the same amount, so they're only getting $40,000 as well. But then it ends up costing more, like plus 50 or 60% or even more, like depending on the contractor company. Like I know that like we had a QA contractor and I think he was making 50, and I think we were paying like 100 something for him. Like, it was insane. And he still had like no benefits, no PTO, no holidays, nothing. And we're like, so if we pay somebody 50, but then we end up really paying them more like 70 to cover, full total compensation, then why does it cost us like 110 to pay this guy 50 when he gets no benefits? There's his contractor company, right? And so
you added another party.
Yeah, they were just shaving so much off the top that like the contractor was getting a worse deal, and we were paying way more. But like, and we tried to make that argument. From what I heard, like leadership here tried to make that argument to the corporate headquarters, saying, look, people are using contract employees to bypass your headcount restrictions. But each of those contract employees is costing us more than it would to just hire them. And it sucks for them too. The high turnover, they don't have any benefits. They're not, they're looking for full-time work with benefits in almost every case, and we're paying more to give them a worse deal. Like, it's going to be hard to hang on to them and to keep them happy, and so, like, all around, it's worse. It's just a poor use of money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, somebody decided this is going to be the limit. You can't have any more people than X. And so,
Yeah.
but then they left loopholes in so you can get contract work.
Right. It's just absurd in the same context where developing people is an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
We've already said we can only have this many, and then we're not going to pay that much attention to them, right?
Yeah.
If they're troublemakers, of course we'll address that.
Yeah.
Other than that, whatever they do is what they do.
Yeah.
Of course everybody is operating, right, at their maximum output. Of course they are. They're just naturally going to be doing that. They don't need any coaching.
Right. No development. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a shame that that seems to be like at least the state of leadership here. I don't know. It's probably common.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Like I don't really hear about places to work, organizations or whatever where it's different.
Well, when those places get talked about, right, like it's in some sort of leadership book.
Oh yeah.
And the reason you talk about them is because they're an outlier.
Right. Exactly.
They're outproducing all of their competition. And why is it? Well, one of the main factors is that they're developing all of their people.
Yeah. I wonder how you get out of that though, because like you said, once you're running on almost like autopilot for so long, you're basically just promoting people who are good at their current role into a management role, which isn't necessarily related.
Right.
So then over time, you get your leadership ranks filled with people who weren't necessarily qualified leaders, nor people who even wanted to be leaders. And then at that point now, that leadership group is largely incapable of preparing real leaders because they're not real leaders in many cases, maybe not all, but like how do you turn that around? How do you take an organization that has become dysfunctional like that and change the culture, change leadership? Like, I mean, what would you do? Like whitewash the entire senior and middle management and like put in different people? Like, and who would even initiate something like that if in general, like, poor leadership has made its way all the way to the top and it's all throughout the organization? Like, who's even going to initiate that kind of change? Who's even going to recognize the problem and start working on it? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Nobody, because there isn't a problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, but like, so if you're somebody who does look at this and say, I want it to be different, like, what can you even do?
Oh, what can
I do, Jordan?
You can hire like-minded friends, but you don't hire anybody, so
yeah,
you can't do anything. So here, we'll invoke some of the soft skills podcast advice, which is to quit your job and go to work somewhere that they actually invest in leadership.
But where are those places? Do they even exist? I mean, I'm sure they do somewhere, but like, I don't know.
Around here, I don't know for certain. I've not yet worked at a place where there was amazing leadership. I've heard good things about Bamboo HR, but I don't know because I don't work there.
Yeah. Wish there's some way to know, you know? Because a big deal, like, I don't know that you can really know unless you've worked there or somebody that sees things the same way that you do. Somebody whose opinion you trust has worked there, right?
Right.
Like,
You need somebody on the inside to tell you if it's really that way.
Yeah.
Because everybody has lofty corporate goals and junk.
right, and everybody
right?
says that their corporation is awesome and all engaged in leadership and everything. You know, like, it's any job interview you go to, you ask, like, hey, you know, are there opportunities for advancement here? Is anyone going to say no? Is someone going to be like, yeah, you know what? No one really gets promoted here. It kind of sucks. Like, this nepotism all over the place. Nobody's going to tell you that kind of stuff, you know? That's something you find out 2 years into the role, you know? And then you bail. Like, if at that point, you know, if you come to that realization. But, like, I don't know of any way where you can find out that kind of information without taking that level of risk and saying, okay, I'm going to leave my current job
Yeah.
and get hired there and see what it's like, and then hopefully it works out.
I don't think you can. Like, just from reading about them on Glassdoor and their job posting and the interview
Yeah.
process, I don't think that's possible.
No. Well, listeners, if you're aware of any places like this, regardless of where they're located, let us know in the comments. We're looking for places like that we can, consider working for, or I don't know, or just learning from. Like, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, or just get all of your friends to subscribe to this channel so we can quit the stupid day job thing and just do podcasts.
That's right. Podcast all day. Maybe make video games on the side.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. How open to something like a startup would you be? I wanted to ask you this. Like, let's say I came to you and I said, Jordan, I have this awesome idea for some kind of tech product, and I want you to be the CTO or whatever, and we're going to form a company.
Well, am I putting money in, or am I just working there? See, because working there is low risk, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, you could end up not getting paid, right? Like, if the company goes under.
Yeah, that's true. But I would just be gone as soon as the paychecks ended, right?
Right. But I mean, like, what a lot of startups will do too is they'll start paying you like a big chunk of your quote unquote salary as like shares, right?
Yeah.
So say, okay, Jordan, you're probably only gonna get like $20,000 a year, but we're giving you a ton of stock, and when this company takes off, you're gonna be filthy stinking rich. So
no, I couldn't be in that sort of a work
Right.
arrangement.
I don't think I could either.
It wouldn't be a good fit for me, and I know my wife would hate it. So
Yeah,
that's off the table.
for sure. And since I don't have any kind of capital to invest, that means it'd be difficult to secure your services then
It sure
for any
would.
kind of venture.
I'm expensive,
Yeah,
Tim.
I understand that. Yeah. People as skilled as you don't come cheap, Jordan.
No, we don't.
They don't. I don't really have any ideas right now. I should start thinking about it, though. Start thinking about a way to create or make something and not just work for someone else.
Or maybe
Rest of
you
my life.
might want to work at a startup for as long as they can sign your paychecks and don't try
Maybe.
and give you stock.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It is hard to get in because I know, when startups are started, it's just engineers, right? Those are the
Yeah.
first things that we hire. And then if we have a shot of making this right, probably when you get to your second round of funding or whatever, is when you hire one project manager because you need some support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. And you'd really only be interested if it was web development, right? You're not into like mobile apps or desktop video games.
I'm not married to any sort of technology. I mean, the reason, so I used to do desktop development here at Exactware, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to be more and more of a niche thing in the future. Like, the great opportunities are not going to be for desktop developers. They just aren't, right? Who are the big names we're talking about in tech right now? It's not the people that make desktop applications, right?
Yeah.
So, Facebook, do they have a desktop application? It's all web-based.
Unless you count their Oculus launcher, probably, but that's just one small section of their.
Netflix,
Yeah.
Amazon,
Google, Apple.
any of those.
It's all web and
right?
mobile.
So I guess Apple has iTunes, right?
Yeah.
Is there one desktop app? They might have more.
Yeah, but it's also available as, mobile and web. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
So,
if you really want to have more opportunities in the future, desktop development is not the place to be. Mobile, that's a good space for you to be in. I'm not that interested in mobile, just personality-wise. So that's why I wanted to jump into web. But, if there was some compelling desktop product, it's hard to imagine there being one in the year 2019, right? We're
Maybe.
starting some fantastic new product that's a desktop app.
mm-hmm.
I don't imagine there are lots of those.
Yeah.
Then sure, I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah, desktop's still the realm, though, for anything that's either productivity related or, I mean, you can still do that kind of stuff on web, I guess, too, a lot of it, but productivity related or requires processing power. Either of those two or both, and you start to live primarily on desktop. Like, for example, Adobe Photoshop, you know, like that's probably not moving off of desktop. Like, there's no way you're going to do that kind of stuff on mobile, and it's probably too heavy to put in a browser. Maybe.
I don't know. It just depends on how feature heavy your app is, right? I know there are browser-based image editor softwares right now,
Yeah.
and I don't know how they stack up with their desktop equivalents. But yeah, like video editing, I don't think that's ever going to be, well, at least not in our current technological landscape,
Yeah.
right? It just makes way more sense for that to be a desktop thing.
Yeah. Unless you're going to provide like all the processing in the cloud or something, but then you're paying for, you'd have to charge people for that service. So, yeah. Maybe someday I'll come up with some kind of idea, and I'll be able to shell out the money, Jordan, and then we'll create our own company.
Maybe we should start by buying lottery tickets.
Probably not.
No?
No.
Robbing a lottery winner, then.
That
That would just be cruel, though, because I hear those people end up terribly, right? So
Yeah.
to take their money away from them as well.
Hmm.
Maybe we should research that, talk about it next time.
Maybe.
That's one of the things you hear, right? That lottery winners, like, they end up worse because they buy their stuff they want, they overextend themselves. So then they end up in the same spot. All this junk they can't take care of.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard to have a lot of sympathy for that, though, you know? It's like you had more money than you were capable of handling. First world problems, I guess?
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's like you were given something that you didn't earn or have the discipline to build yourself. Not that people who aren't rich, it's because they're lacking in discipline or they haven't earned it or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like it seems like I don't know. It's like if I placed a lot of responsibility on my kids before they were ready, if I said to my 10-year-old daughter, hey, you have to babysit your brothers, she's probably not ready for that yet, maybe if she were like 13, 14, it's probably more in the realm where maybe even 12, but 10 probably not quite yet. And so placing that on her shoulders is kind of doing her a disservice because she's not quite ready for it, probably.
Setting her up for failure.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
And then she might just be discouraged about trying it in the future.
Yeah.
Because she has that past failed experience.
Or it's kind of like, bestowing technology upon a civilization that hasn't earned it yet, Like giving, if we found some kind of like primitive alien race on a different planet and we gave them nukes, it's like, it's not, right? It's not going to be a smart thing to do, like,
hopefully they're not an aggressive people.
Right. Because it's, I don't know. It's like,
well, they don't have any experience with radiation poisoning, right?
Right.
They would just think, oh, I blew up my enemies. It's great.
yeah. And
They might even go in there and pillage after, right? And then get killed by the
Right.
radiation poisoning.
it's almost like, that weaponry followed like an evolution over a long period of time. And at each step, like,
Yeah. People knew
People-
what
yeah,
it would
yeah.
do before they used
right.
it.
And so like, yeah, just dumping like, a nuclear bomb on somebody who only knows how to make bows and arrows and spears, or something like that, like, not going to go well, probably.
Yeah. Or even if they just knew about regular explosives, right?
Yeah.
Because nuclear is a different animal.
Yeah, very different. Yeah. So
Don't buy lottery tickets, folks.
yeah, that's the moral of the story. Don't buy lottery tickets.
Whether you win or lose, you will end up a loser.
And almost certainly you're going to lose. It's like pretty much guaranteed that you're not going to win. Like just statistically, you know.
So instead of buying your lottery tickets, become one of the sponsors for our show.
That's right. It'll get you more value.
We'll print you a t-shirt or something.
Maybe. what kind of value do we offer right now for subscribers?
Tim is a fiscal conservative. We might print you a t-shirt.
Well, yeah, I don't know. No promises yet, Jordan. No promises.
We would just license them to something clever that they could print on their own t-shirts at a reasonable price.
I don't know. We could start our own merch store. Sell shirts with your face on them, Jordan. How about that?
Yeah, I would buy a shirt with my face on it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't already have my face.
But wouldn't it be better if you had your face and your face on a shirt?
Maybe. I never thought about it before.
Well, maybe we should think about that. Maybe that's our business opportunity, Jordan.
Maybe.
We don't need software development skills. We just need rights to print shirts with your face on them. Pretty sure that you can grant those rights.
I can.
Yeah. No fees. We'll just pay you royalties for every shirt we sell for use of your likeness.
Yeah, that's a win-win-win.
Yeah. T-shirt company. We sold T-shirts back when I was at BYU, an undergraduate. I was in an entrepreneurship class, and for that class we had to create a business and make at least $1,500 by the end of the semester. And we managed to do it by selling T-shirts.
Whoa, they forced you to learn real skills in school.
Yeah, I wish.
What a departure.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember very much of it, though. It was so long ago. But yeah, we had to go and get a business license. And then we had to, do all the paperwork. And we all had official titles. And then we divided up the work. So we had, pretty much what it came down to, though, was pretty much everybody was just trying to sell shirts to someone somewhere. And then we had an artist guy who would design custom shirts if people wanted custom shirts. And then we had the main dude who was the president, who he already had ties to some T-shirt printing, print screening, or whatever they call it, screen printing, T-shirt screen printing company. And so he used them and was able to get pretty good prices. So we had the artist. So yeah, we would, what did we do? So some people would go to like BYU clubs or whatever and be like, hey, you guys want shirts for your club, $15 each or whatever, and we'll even have our artist guy design you your logo, and we'll make you shirts, minimum order 20 or whatever, and we'd go around and do that. I ended up creating a web page trying to sell our shirts. It was pretty crappy. I mean, if you saw it, you'd probably laugh.
Did it sell any shirts, though, Tim?
The web page...
That's all that matters.
I think we got some emails and some calls. So it wasn't like e-commerce, you couldn't actually buy shirts through it. It just advertised some of our designs and had contact information.
Okay, so it was a marketing site.
Yeah, it was a marketing site. And so we actually did get some inquiries out of it, so that was good. I ended up making a bunch of our money, though, because I talked to my mom, and she said, call... She used to work a lot for the elementary school that we went to when we were younger. She was always volunteering in the PTA and stuff when we were young. Then eventually they're like, you do so much here, we're just going to give you a job. So my mom worked there for a long time, even long after we were out of elementary school. And so she said, they buy shirts here for one of the classes, or maybe the graduating class every year or whatever. And so, call up the school. And so I called the school, and they're like, yeah, we'll buy from you instead. Just at least match or beat the price of the place we currently use. And so I sold a bunch of shirts to the graduating class of probably something 2005 or whatever.
in Danube Avenue Elementary in California. So that was good.
You were just telling me you didn't have any business ideas.
I don't know.
Here you are, a successful entrepreneur.
I don't know if I'd say successful.
What? So you sold $1,500 worth of shirts? You
Yeah.
spent $3,000 to sell that $1,500?
We definitely made profit. Some. I think we each walked away with like $100.
Not enough to quit your jobs, though.
No.
Or for it to supplant a job.
No. Maybe you could do it.
So really, you're wasting your time. Because time is valuable. If you had
Yeah,
taken
right.
all that time you spent selling T-shirts and gone to work at Subway
I
or
would have
wherever,
made more money. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. The idea, though, was
did they
that-
talk about that in the class? Is that one of the principles that
Maybe.
was covered?
Maybe. But the idea, though, was like to let us get our feet wet in, starting something of our own, starting
Sure.
from scratch, even if it wasn't worth doing. Just going through the process was what was important, really.
Yeah, the experience.
Yeah. The team that ended up winning, so we came out of the gate like in the lead big time. Like we made some major sales, and we had like 1,000 in revenue in like the first month or whatever, and everybody else had like none. We didn't end up winning though, because like halfway through the semester, one team had still made nothing, and eventually they said, we're just gonna go, like, forget this. We're just gonna go to local businesses and say, hey, can we just like clean your offices for like minimum wage or whatever. And then they did that, and they did enough hours that they beat us by the end of the semester. So I thought that was kind of weak, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is kind of weak.
But I mean, they still went through the whole incorporation process and got a business license and everything. So they still did everything, but
Yeah, it's a legit business. Just kind of a strange... I guess it wasn't about having a good business, right?
yeah. It was about going through the motions and making at least $1,500 by the end of the
Theirs
semester.
was a service business where they
Yeah.
were the employees.
Yeah. So, I mean, it works. I mean, a lot of people who are self-employed or whatever do things like carpet cleaning or contractor work or, So it's not that, I don't know. It's not, it's definitely legitimate, but it was kind of surprising to us because we thought like the idea was maybe like come up with some kind of, I don't know, like product or service where you're like the leadership, you're the CEO, you're not like the guy cleaning. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that was a mistake on our part, just because any kind of business that you're trying to get off the ground, like, you definitely have to get your hands dirty, and we did too. Like all of us were in the business of trying to sell the shirts. So from that perspective, I don't know that really there was that much difference. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe I think the difference is that it seemed like pretty much every other team was trying to create something maybe a little bit unique or maybe suited to their skills, whereas that one team was like, hey, we're just gonna do a job that people are already doing, and that we could already just do without having a business, right? They could have just gone to a cleaning company and said, hire me, and just done that, right? Like,
Yeah.
whereas I don't know that there are really any t-shirt screen printing companies where you can just go and apply to work for. There might be some really big ones. I don't know if there are any in the area, but like we did look around at competitors back when we did this, and most of it just seemed to be like Etsy style stuff where it's like the one guy who bought like the machinery and just does it out of his house or out of his garage or whatever, just like one dude, not a company. So I don't know, maybe that felt a little bit more real, but just kind of like doing your own self-employed thing, maybe. But how do we even get on this subject? I don't remember.
T-shirts.
Oh yeah, printing your face on T-shirts, YouTube sponsorships, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
lottery tickets.
Lottery
us hear.
tickets. Yeah, a lot of people still drive up to what is it, Idaho, to buy lottery tickets. I think it's Idaho. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine if you think it's fun. You know, if you're actually trying to do it as a way to get money, I don't think that's smart.
It's sad.
Yeah. But if you're like, you know, just being able to put down $5 to have the dream of what if, you know,
Yeah.
and watch them pull the numbers, you know,
Sure.
fine, you know.
It's some story you can laugh about with your
Yes,
friends. Be nice to
exactly.
me, because after tonight I might be a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see the excitement. If you're doing it more of as a form of entertainment, then that's fine. If you're actually trying to make money and like counting on it, or I don't know, that's just, yeah, it's not great because the odds are just so ridiculously low that you're the one, you're part of the group that's creating the pool for that one person out of millions who wins. You're just throwing money into a pot for somebody else to win. That's like pretty much guaranteed what's happening. So people call it a tax.
Yeah, we could think about it that way too, right? I'm helping some other poor person like me to be a millionaire.
Maybe. But then,
I'm out $5, but some lucky person's gonna have millions.
yeah.
But I don't think that's a common story with
Yeah.
lottery
Yeah,
tickets.
the real person who wins is Uncle Sam, right? Because the IRS takes like half of what you win, right? Something
Yeah,
like that,
or
more.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
If it can be taxed, it will be taxed.
Yeah. That's the real winner is Uncle Sam.
Yeah, because bonuses are taxed heftier in our state, aren't they?
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'm sure whatever state you live in is probably going to take some. The federal government's going to take a bunch. And I hear they take more if you take it as a lump sum. Like, I want all 350 million right now, and you end up only getting like 100, something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but and most people seem to take the lump sum, which is I think where they get into trouble. Like, you probably, like, unless you've had that kind of money before, you probably don't even know what to do with it.
Right. Unless you have plans to buy a fleet
Like,
of flying cars.
Yeah, like it just seems silly. It's like, why don't you just take the like 10 million a year for the rest of your life or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, now you know you're set for life. What do you really need to buy that costs more than 10 million? Probably nothing. Like,
nothing.
and if you don't have the discipline to handle that lump sum anyway, which is, it sounds like a lot of people don't, well, there's built-in discipline right there, you know? Now the most you can do is squander 10 million in a year, and then you know that there's another 10 coming in next year. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit less than 10, but I mean, if you're getting more than $1 million a year, like, it's hard to feel sorry if you can't live off of that, you know? Most people do just fine with much, much less.
Sure do.
So, yeah, if I somehow won the lottery, which I don't see how that's possible since I've never played and probably never will, but if I did, I would definitely go for the distribution method where they give you a little bit at a time or whatever they call that. Just because, first of all, it saves you like tens of millions in tax, like tens of millions, maybe more. I don't even know. And then it would just be easier for me to figure out what to do with it. It's like, okay, I've got, you know, even if it's only like 2 million, it's like 2 million this year. What the freak am I going to do? Okay, you know, pay off house, maybe get a car. I don't know what else after that. Invest. I don't know. Start a company. I don't even know. Like, I'd have to figure it out. Start buying real estate, rental properties. I don't know. But like, yeah, I wouldn't know how to use like 150 million all at once. why not just get more money and just get it slower so you can figure out what to do with it as it comes in. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
That's what I'd do.
If you need a coach spending your lottery winnings, Timothy Harrison.
For a small fee.
For a small fee, he will help you to manage your lottery winnings.
I bet there are people who do that professionally already. There's got to be, right?
Well, I'm sure tons of people call you after you win the lottery.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, there's probably some kind of, like... I mean, there are companies out there that exist to help rich people use their money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure those already target, lottery winners, or some lottery winners probably already use them, I'd imagine.
Yep.
At least the ones that don't, just blow all their money and waste it all, squander it all. Like the prodigal son, Jordan.
Well, at least they got a colorful story to tell.
It's true. It's true. Golden toilet seats like MC Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, though, that, like, the states that use the lottery typically use it as another means of getting money.
Yeah, I understand that's the whole purpose.
Yeah, and the people who tend to buy lottery tickets are the people who aren't doing well financially.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a regressive tax, you might call it. Like, I'm sure you're more likely to buy lottery tickets if you aren't well financially. So, and probably like less educated too, right? Because
I would imagine
because
there is a correlation between number of lottery tickets bought and education.
Right.
A negative relationship.
Which is why it's often also referred to as a tax on people who are bad at math, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. At least it's voluntary, though. That's one thing that I do like about it. As somebody who's like, personal freedom oriented.
Can I please pay my taxes by buying lottery tickets?
I like the fact that it is voluntary. In fact, if all taxes are voluntary like that, I would just avoid whatever it is, and then other people would be paying all the taxes for me, right? So, I don't buy lottery tickets, so I avoid that tax, right? I don't know. If we did more lottery stuff, maybe we could fund everything without any kind of income tax. But again, though, that's maybe a little morally gray, at least, though, because again, like I said, like if you know that the people who are going to be buying those tickets are the poor and uneducated, it's kind of, it feels like you're taking advantage of them at the same time, though. So I like that it's voluntary, but I don't like that it seems to be designed to exploit a vulnerable segment of the population, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound reasonable?
Fair and balanced.
Yeah, I guess I'm still not sure how I feel about it, I guess. Maybe.
Well, it's a good thing we recorded this episode so you could sort out your feelings on the subject of lottery tickets.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
We ask the deep questions here.
We do. So listeners, if you have an opinion, you disagree with mine, you think I'm an idiot, I want to hear about it in the comments.
We want to hear about your lottery winning story.
That's right. Yeah.
Or some other benefit of value you gained by purchasing lottery tickets in another state.
Yeah. The thing is, gambling in like Vegas seems like it makes more sense as like a pastime or like entertainment, because you're actually like playing games typically, right? Mm-hmm. Like playing card games, or whatever. But
Well, and there's lots of other things surrounding that environment
Mm-hmm.
to tell you the story of I'm here to have fun. Right?
Yeah.
They just gave me a free drink. I saw Wayne Newton
Yeah,
or Lady Gaga or whoever, right?
that's right.
Then you have a
So-
cohesive narrative of I was here for fun, so it doesn't matter what happened to my money.
Yeah, exactly. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All that money stays there in Vegas when you leave. Right?
That's right.
Everything you brought, it doesn't leave in your wallet with you.
Don't have to explain to your loved ones why you missed the mortgage payment.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, just gambling in general, I guess, is all kind of turned into entertainment, which is kind of, I don't know, devilishly genius, I guess. Like
Mm-hmm.
like turning a system that separates people from their money into entertainment and some kind of game. It's clever.
Yeah.
But yeah, again though, it's voluntary, so it's hard to have a lot of opposition to it from my perspective. But yeah,
Well, voluntary to a point, right?
right,
Because there is an element of addiction involved. If you know people
Yeah.
are going to become addicted to your product, is it ethical for you to sell it to them?
that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah. Again though, if they know that it's addictive and they choose to do it anyway, I don't know. Questions of vice, things like that. Maybe I still haven't figured out where I fall on those things, just because it's like, yeah, you're doing it to yourself. It's your own choice. You're letting so maybe somebody's exploiting you, but you're letting yourself get exploited. It's tough. It's a
Well,
tough one.
you'll surely drag some non-gamblers down with you, right? None of us
Oh,
is
yeah.
an island. All of us have friends
true.
and family. So
It's
even if
true.
you're like, I don't care if I become a gambling addict, well, you have you have some, at least, someone you're connected to who will be bothered
Yeah.
by your gambling habit.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is I'm not legally opposed to any of those kinds of things like gambling.
So you don't
or
wanna
drugs, or
Legislate
whatever,
it.
but I'm morally opposed. Like, I think you're doing something wrong if you are gambling all your money away and your family is struggling to get by.
Yeah.
Or if you're, constantly drunk and you're not being a good father to your kids or whatever, I'm morally opposed to that. I don't know that I would get the government involved though, unless there's violence happening. But yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah, like I wouldn't really legislate against those things, but I'm morally opposed to vices, I guess, maybe.
All right,
Yeah.
trolls, you've heard Tim's views. Tell him how wrong and
Yeah.
stupid and evil he is.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. The show is not popular enough yet to have trolls.
But when it is one day, some people will come back
Tell your friends.
to conversations
You
like this.
or your friends can be the first troll in our
Yes.
comments.
When I run for office, Jordan, someone will dig this up and they'll be like, see, this is what he said. Condemn him. Burn him at the stake.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have him on the record. Got this YouTube video from 2019.
Yeah. It's true. And maybe by then, maybe 10 years from now, I'll have a different opinion. Who knows? But
You might.
yeah.
People change.
Yeah. Yeah. But war, Jordan, war never changes.
War never changes.
That's a Fallout reference.
Oh, is it?
I'm disappointed that you didn't get it.
I've not played any of the Fallout games
Yeah. Yeah, they're good.
or any of the Mass Effect games.
You did watch that video that I sent you, though, right?
I watched
The whole
some
thing?
of it. No, I didn't watch the whole thing.
Jordan.
It was good,
Yeah.
but I don't care about Mass Effect. So
Yeah, it's true.
I was most interested, just in his discussion of narrative. So
Yeah.
Mass Effect is a fine example for it. But I felt like I got the point about, I forget the name of the book. Shandy, though.
Yeah, Tristram Shandy.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right. Is that that's the character's
Yeah.
name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It, I guess, tries to offer a plausible perspective on causality and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to be a fiction that's more true to life, right?
Yeah.
Where things are not so cut and dried.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it was a good video.
And then he talked about how Mass Effect did that. But I don't care how Mass Effect did that,
Yeah.
right? It's an interesting
Fair
concept
enough.
for sure. So once I got that, I was done. Not that it was bad or anything, you know?
Yeah. I still haven't played Mass Effect 3. I played 1 and 2,
Yeah.
but not 3. I'll get to it someday.
And did you enjoy the narrative control that you had over the game? Or did you... What was your experience the same as Mr. B-Tongue?
I think they did a good job with the setting. The interesting thing is he actually goes into the same criticism that I have of the Mass Effect series in one of his later videos. So maybe he hadn't played that much when he made this video.
Well, I think this video is just about what he likes about Mass Effect, whereas I think the theme of his channel is that of complaining.
Yeah, he has another great video I think you should watch called Choice and Consequence, where he talks about like basically role-playing games where they give you choices to make, and he criticizes Mass Effect for the same thing I didn't like, which is that pretty much every time there's a decision to be made, whether it's in a conversation with somebody or the fate of the world hangs in the balance, either way, there's pretty much going to be 3 choices. There's going to be the good choice, the neutral choice, and the bad choice. And the good choice is blue, and the bad choice is red, so you know exactly what you're picking.
Oh, I see.
And so not only that is not only is it too clear cut, like you said, you know.
Yeah.
Not only
Well,
is it
Mass
that most of the
Effect
time,
is telling you how you should interpret the Mass Effect world, right?
Right.
How you should think about the situations and the choices you get to make.
So there are so a number of problems with that. Number one, it's telling you what's good or bad. Number two, it's always trying to boil every situation down to only 3 options. So there's hardly any room for nuance.
Overly simplified.
And the third that really kills everything. So okay, before I say this, Mass Effect, I enjoyed the game. Great game. You should play it. I tend to get nitpicky about things. That's just how I am. But anyway, number 3 is the fact that you gain points. Either what I call Paragon or Renegade. Paragon is blue, Renegade is red. You gain Paragon points for picking the blue choices, Renegade points for picking the red. There are things that getting high in one or the other unlocks. So it's kind of like if I said, Jordan, here's a spell that you can cast if you're full Renegade. Now all of a sudden, if you want that spell, you're going to pick Renegade in every situation. You're not going to pick what you think might be best, what you think your character might do, or what you think is going to be the most interesting story. You're just going to keep clicking the red choice every time because you want that spell. And you're worried that if you ever pick a Paragon choice, a blue choice, and you lose Renegade points, that you lose access to that ability, right? And I don't remember the exact details of Mass Effect. It's been so long since I played, but I'm pretty sure there were things in the game where it was like you had to have high rank in one or the other at key moments for, you know, in order to accomplish something. And so if you were the kind of person who just kind of went with what you thought was best, which means sometimes you're picking neutral things, sometimes you're picking the opposite, then you're never really going to get super high in either Paragon or Renegade, and you kind of shoot yourself in the foot in some regards because of that. And I didn't like that. You know, I would rather go through and pick what I think the character would do, or what I want to see happen, or what I think is going to be the best outcome, without anybody saying, you know, we're labeling this as good or bad, and you know, you have to pick one or the other to advance your character on a certain track. You know, once it's tied to advancement, it starts to detract from
your ability to freely choose, I think. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my complaint with Mass Effect. And he does go into some of that, if I remember correctly, in his Choice and Consequence video, which is another good one. But, yeah, overall, I enjoyed the game. It was very interesting. It's a well-done sci-fi RPG. Interesting story, interesting characters. And so, yeah, I don't mean to come off as like super harsh. I'm not trying to do a brutal takedown of Mass Effect here. You
just want some of the choices and the consequences to be decoupled.
Yeah, I would decouple.
I want to be a light side Jedi and use Force Lightning and Force Choke.
Yeah, and so in Star Wars: The Old Knights of the Old Republic, you do take a penalty if you use a power that you are opposed to on the Force, not Force, but the light side dark side axis. So if you're light side, you get a bonus to light side powers, but a penalty to dark. And then vice versa. But if you're neutral, then you don't get a penalty or bonus to either, so you can be very versatile. So it's like, depending on where you are, you can still use everything you want to. So it's not like you're losing access to anything. And there's also no like, oh, I have to be light or dark. You can just say, I'm just going to be neutral, and I can use whatever I want, and no big deal. So,
what about Mind Trick? Was that a neutral power? Was that light, dark?
I think it was neutral.
I remember spending a lot on that one because you do so much talking in this kind of games. I just wanted to be able to get whatever I wanted, right? Yeah. Any absurd thing, I could Jedi mind trick you into it. I don't know how much. That's another thing. I guess I should have read more about it on the internet. Like what you could actually unlock, right? Mm-hmm. Like how much should you invest in it, because how much can you actually do? Because it doesn't work on everybody, right?
No,
that's established in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. However much you level up the mind trick, you can't subvert everyone to your will.
Right. And especially from like a game design perspective, like it's only available in any conversation where the designers chose to include it as an option. Mm-hmm. So it's not always available. And the way they handle it, if I remember correctly, is you have the mind trick and then you have Force Dominate was rank 2 of it or something. And so you could, if you took rank 2, then any time the option's available, you always succeed. But yeah, it doesn't come up that often. There are some key moments where it does come up, though, especially at the very end of the game. Yeah. Spoilers.
The only time I remember using it was to get a better price for HK-47.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only one I remember.
Yeah.
And just wanting, to have more options and dialogues. So I invested in it.
Yeah. The most memorable part where you can use it is the very end if you turn dark side. Should we talk about that, or is that too spoilery? Game's old.
Yeah, it's super old. It's not spoilery.
Spoilers. Stop listening now if you don't want spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic, which came out in what, like 2001 or something? 2002?
It's been almost 20 years now.
So it's your own fault if you haven't played it by now. So at the very end of the game, you find out your true identity, and you can have a big turning point where you go basically light or dark. First time I played through, I went dark, and you return to your party after making that decision, and then it becomes clear to them which one you chose pretty quickly. And there are some people who are dark on your team, and they're like, oh, heck yeah, bro, welcome back. And there are people who are light who are like, I'm getting out of here. And basically, there are two people on your team. One is Twi'lek, her name is Mission, and the other is a Wookiee named Zalbar, and they're best friends. Zalbar, you saved his life, so he swore a life debt to you. And so Mission is trying to leave, and then Zalbar tries to leave with her, and you can say, no, dude, you swore me a life debt. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I have to stay. So he's going to stay, and Mission's going to leave, and you get a dialogue option to tell her that she can't leave. And then basically she will say, no, I'm leaving anyway, and then you can tell Zalbar to prevent her from leaving. And at that point, he will turn on you. He'll say, screw you, screw the life debt. I'm not going to turn on my best friend. And at that point, you can use Force Dominate, if you have it, Jordan, to force him to kill his best friend.
It's pretty dark.
It's pretty hardcore. That's real game design, folks. That's what I'm talking about. Letting people play as light or dark, evil or good. That kind of an option like that existing in the game, sign of a good game.
Must be. Tim's still talking about it 20 years later.
Oh yeah. Good stuff. Very, very big moment in that game. Very memorable. Yeah, and I did it. I dominated Zalbar. Yeah. That's how it goes, Jordan.
Sure is.
It's his own fault for being weak-willed, Jordan.
I guess
Own
so.
fault for being a weak-willed Wookiee.
Focus too much on muscle.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get some lunch or something?
Sure. Let's get some
You
lunch.
hungry? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? We can talk about that after we end this podcast. So thanks again, folks, for joining us for episode 4 of the TJ podcast, or as Jordan likes to call it, the Timbo Slice podcast featuring Jordan. Did I
That's
get that right?
Thanks for tuning in. We could not do this without you.
Exactly. So keep sending those checks. And we'll catch you next time when we do episode 5.
Bye.
Goodbye.